Hello, and welcome to episode 16 of Missed Mando, a disc golf podcast covering the disc golf world. I'm your host, Robbie Holden, joined by my friend and co-host, Galen Naidu-Harris. Sean is off this episode as he is currently en route to Maple Hill for this weekend's MVP Open, which I'm only slightly extremely jealous of. But we are going to have a good pod here without him. Galen, how you doing, my man? What have you been up to since our last episode?
I am good, dude. I'm like that much better that we don't have Sean here. You know, quality of the podcast is up by 40-45%, something like that. No, I'm good. I don't really have any disc golf related updates for myself because I think I alluded to it on the last episode. I'm not sure. We were playing Wild Country, which was a lot, and then I went up and played the day after more disc golf through some shoulder pain. And I was advised by a medical health professional to stop throwing things for a couple of weeks. So I haven't played anything, but I will say that as a fan of a pun and dad joke, the CCS was a CC success at Kelso. The conservation series, I saw just some fantastic photos. Everybody seemed to have a great time. We'll have some shout outs a little bit later for some specific people as we do our tournament recap. But, just suffice it to say, a tournament at my home course where I'm running the league, to see it go as smoothly and to see people have had as much fun as they did, I was very happy. So not playing, but from a distance, disc golf is good, my man. How about you?
Look at you making the smart decision. I'm proud of you, man. I'm really proud.
Yeah, I don't often do that, but every once in a while.
Yeah, well, I'm actually kind of leaning towards doing the same thing coming up and taking a weekend off. When I was debating between two tournaments to play, and might just take a weekend off. Because the way I've been feeling for the last two tournaments, since the last podcast, I've played in the RIP and I played in the Greater Niagara Fall Classic. Two tournaments that we are going to talk about coming up, but needless to say, I played terribly. Re-aggravated a back injury at the RIP, and was just so far out of it that I had to DNF. Didn't want to just continue to push through it. Felt good going into the Niagara tournament, and just didn't play up to my caliber, what I know I can do out there. But and it was mostly just like an energy thing, just like ran out of steam. So I think a weekend off is going to be a good thing for me. Just going to maybe play some casual rounds, maybe show up to Bronte League, see my boy Galen out there, maybe show up to Kelso League finally, see my boy Galen out there. Maybe you'll get more of me in the coming week than you would at any tournament weekend.
Hey, sounds good to me, buddy. But it's been what? Like, we're at week 8 or 9 now, and I'm just going to see it for the first time. I'm disappointed.
I know. I still haven't played the course. It's unfortunate because it really isn't that far of a drive for me. So I'm
now your Wednesday league has been wrapped up, and I am excited for moving to Glowy again. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So hope to see you out, my man. But yeah, I it doesn't sound like you to listen to your body and take some time off, but if you wind up actually doing it, kudos, man, power to you.
Yeah, I've played in, I think I was just looking at it earlier, I've played in 23 tournaments this year. I think I've got 4 more that I'm registered for still, so I'm a little time off won't hurt me, I think. But also something that has happened since the last episode is the two of us got to be a little dynamic duo for some commentary with Canadian Disc Golf Productions, something that I've talked about
just the two of us.
Season.
We can make it if we try.
That now my brain is literally only thinking of that song. Thanks, Galen. But yes, Canadian Disc Golf Productions on YouTube. Go check it out. It was a fun doubles tournament. The Fow Bow Magao Memorial Tournament, which is a name that's forever going to be embedded in my brain now. This is just a fantastic name. But go check out Galen and I on the mic there. It was a fun time getting to finally be on the mic with you after being with Brownie on so many videos earlier this year.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, man. And the feeling is mutual because I've recorded the vast majority of my coverage with Brownie and never with you. And it was in person. We're used to like recording from a distance, me in my living room and you in your, whatever your recording room is, I don't even know. But actually sitting side by side and watching a tournament, recording some live commentary was great. So if you want to hear some mediocre commentary and look at some below average in attractiveness faces, Canadian Disc Golf, actually no, I guess we're not on camera, Canadian Disc Golf Productions, Falba Miguel Memorial, and it was a blast to commentate on. You'll see Nico and Carl Forbes, you'll see some ace runs, you'll see some pretty interesting moments. So yeah, for sure, that was a great time to record that with you. And if you guys are listening and you want more content, go check it out.
Absolutely. Go check that out. Canadian Disc Golf Productions on YouTube. And moving on to a little bit of Ontario news, a big announcement in the Ontario news realm, over the past week. I think it came out about a week ago or, just over a week ago. 2025 Canadian Nationals next year is going to be held in Ontario again. It was held in Thunder Bay, of course, last year, and next year it is going to be held in the Peterborough area. It's going to be 4 different courses. Project 15, recently voted #1 course in Ontario. Hope Goat, Newcastle, and Cedar Creek. All 4 courses there, so a little north and a little south of Peterborough, with I guess Peterborough being the epicenter of that. And that is going to take place in September next year. I think it said something about registration opening just early in 2025. So keep an eye on Disc Golf Scene to sign up for that. For people in our area, I mean, that's perfect. Like, that is not, this is going to be the first Nationals I'll get to play in where I didn't have to travel 16 hours away, because I played in PEI and Thunder Bay. So I'm excited for these courses to be featured for Nationals. Galen, what do you think?
Yeah, man, I love it. Courses that featured heavily in our top 25, our top 10. Courses where we saw some people throwing some discs recently to great effect. Again, we'll get there a little later in the pod. But I always think it's really cool watching the best of disc golf come into our backyard, which not quite, but I mean, like an hour and a half for me, 2 hours or so. That's pretty close to backyard in a country the size of Canada. So yeah, I'm excited too. And I haven't played the Nationals yet. I look forward and hope to play next year. I think it's going to be a great time.
Heck yeah, I'm already looking forward to it. Like I said, all 4 courses are amazing. I haven't played Cedar Creek yet, but from the reviews that I've heard from people that I definitely trust about their course ratings, I know I'm going to love it when I finally do make it out there. So that is going to be one that I'm looking forward to, and keeping an eye on, what divisions will be playing, which courses, all that sort of announcements, that'll come in, probably early in the new year. But moving on now to some Ontario registrations. Let's throw it over to you, Galen. What's coming up in the Ontario scene?
Dude, September and October are packed. I swear to God, we are living in the golden age of Ontario disc golf. We got multiple incredible events each and every weekend through the summer, it feels like, and quite a few we've got coming up in the next month, with registration still open or opening shortly. So we're recording this on Monday, September 23rd. These will be pretty close to wrapping up as we get to the release of this episode later this week, but I still want to hit them because there's really big ones. So first off, you got the Muskoka Open Battle of the Alphas on September 28th and 29th. As you're listening to it, if you're listening when this episode drops, that'll be this weekend at beautiful Wolf Tracks on Bondi Cottage Resort, my #1 course in Ontario. This is a new 3-round B-tier event and will be one of your last 2 chances to qualify for provincials. Still something like 50 spots open, so if you have interest, get over there and sign up. September 28th also brings the 2024 Leaf Drop Doubles, a casual $60 unsanctioned single-round best shot doubles tournament with $500 in added cash at another one of my favorite courses up at Abbey Gardens. Also, September 28th is Unplugged at Dreammaker, a single-round, unsanctioned Friday night best shot double glowies event at Dreammaker Family Campground in Southampton. I've heard about this event, and I have heard it is a blast. I've only played Dreammaker the once, but I can't wait to play it again. If I wasn't going to be at Battle of the Alphas, I think I'd be here. But also that weekend, and holy crap, options, guys, is Riverside Rumble number 3. 2-day, 2-round C-tier Riverside West in Belleville. And this is the other of your 2 last chances to qualify for provincials this year in conjunction with the Battle of the Alphas. And actually, sorry, one more. Last but not least, the weekend of the 28th, our friend Nico Forbes is hosting a Nico's Drive event at Marsh Pond Park in Stratford, Ontario, which I'm going to be honest, I haven't even heard of Marsh Pond Park. But anytime there's a Nico's Drive event going, that's a blast. So if you're a junior or if you have a junior in your family, go check that one out. The following weekend, October 5th and 6th, is also jam-packed, including the Mountain View Color Tourney in Jocelyn Township, the Battle at the Bluffs in Port Stanley, the Wolfcat Classic at Trail Hub in Uxbridge, and I can't wait to get out there and play that, and Guelph Birdie Derby at Eastview, and the Ontario Junior Championships at P15. The following weekend, things finally quiet down a little bit with just the Stone's Throw Fall Open running, at least as far as disc golf scene knows. On October 12th, as a one-day, two-round C-tier in Enterprise, Ontario. The events of Stone's Throw are always some of my favorites. The camping, the good times, the course. It's just a blast. So if you're playing, I'll see you at that one too. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, on October 19th and 20th, it's Provincials. The Ontario Provincial Disc Golf Championship will be returning to Muskoka with players playing at Wolf Tracks, Limberlost, and Huntsville Downs. This is always one of my favorite events, but unfortunately, A, I haven't qualified, and B, I can't make it because my best friend is getting married that weekend. What a jerk. But best of luck to anybody who is playing or who has a chance to qualify between now and then. And I also want to highlight, not on the tournament registration front, but on the local front, that I want to highlight that we're making a few changes to our league over at Kelso for the fall months. So due to the lack of daylight, getting ready for our winter hibernation, we're going to move to an 8 o'clock start for league on Wednesday nights. And we're going to start playing Chloe on the front nine. We play in the front nine twice, so no whole 10. People that were having a little bit of trouble there. I saw I was averaging, we've never seen this before, 2.44 strokes over par at the CCS this weekend. So you don't have to play that hole. We are also reallocating all $10 of your entry fee to payouts. $8 for regular payouts, $1 for what is usually cash, but maybe also credit or a disc CTP, and $1 to the ace pot, and adding a mulligan system. So previously, we heard from some players that were thinking, it's a bit of a jog to get out there. I have to pay a gate fee. I got to pay $10. And I'm making a $2 donation to the Conservation Halton Foundation. I'm not sure that's something that I feel like I can do every week. So we're trying to listen and find new ways to make sure that the course through the foundation gets some support, but also that the players are getting what they're looking for. So we're going to move to a mulligan system. So players can now purchase and redeem up to one mulligan per round for a $2 donation to CH. And I know that we've had a ton of success with things like this in the past at Bronte or King's Forest, where, we're looking at, the right charity over the winter and bringing a non-perishable good or a couple of bucks. So I think we've got the basis of a really great league here. I can't wait to move to Glowy. I love Glowy, and I think moving to a Glowy league format for, as long as we can justify it before I start freezing my little boots is going to be a lot of fun. So if you're interested, check it out on UDisc. We'll be playing at 8 o'clock every Wednesday, and you might even see Robbie every once in a while too. That is it for local registration and league update. So why don't we go over to you, Robbie, for some Ontario and even outside of Ontario, perhaps in Canada, tournament recaps.
Yes, let's do it. And I can't wait to come out to Kelso, and Glowy's going to be fun. So that's going to be a blast. But yes, let's move on to some tournament recaps. And we've got a busy bit of recaps here as we had a little bit of a break from our regular episodes for our special course vote episode. So we are going to start with the Flying Ferguson Forest Fall Foray, which was held in Kemptville, Ontario. And this event saw 99 competitors competing across 16 divisions, and this was a OCC stop. So everyone was battling for a top 3 spot to book their ticket to provincials in October. There was no FPO competitors at this event, but in MPO, it was a beatdown on the field courtesy of Chris O'Zolins. Oz shot a 10:39 rated -12 in round 2 to take an 8-stroke lead into the second round, where he would again shoot a 10:39 rated 12 down to take the win by an insane 16 strokes. And this was his 8th win of the season now, just a dominant season so far from Oz. Over in FA1, Taylor Quigley goes wire to wire and wins by a whopping 10 strokes herself. Just massive wins out there. This was her first win in FA1, and to do it, she shot an event average 93 points higher than her player rating. Going off there. Over at MA1, it was a battle right to the finish with Max Noé, Laurie Dotto, and Jared Linthorne all tied at neg 4 with 1 hole to play, but it was Max who was able to pick up the only birdie on the 18th hole to take the win, his first win in MA1. I want to give a shout out, or a couple shout outs. One to Karen Dotto, who took a one stroke win in FA60, and also to her husband Laurie, who can play in MA65, but still plays a lot in MA1. And he always shows us youngsters that age is just a number. He's one of my favorite card mates to ever get in a tournament, the sweetest guy in the world, and coming within a stroke of a MA1 victory when he's over 65 years old is, truly something inspiring. But Galen, let's throw it over to you. What are some of your quick thoughts from the 5F tournament in Kemptville?
Yeah, that's wild, man. I always love an alliterative title, and it sounds like the disc golf was at a really high level to match. So not much to add. You covered it really nicely, man. But congrats to Oz, to Max, to Taylor. Love seeing 2 locals from Brawny take down a couple of the divisions, and congrats to all the winners. Sounds like an awesome tournament.
Yeah, I got to play in that tournament last year, and it's incredibly fun. That is a very tough course, especially some sections through the woods from the gold tees are like, what in the heck am I doing here? So for Oz to go neg 12 from golds there is mind-boggling. But we can move on now to our next tournament, the annual Peacebridge Highland Open, held at the Highlands Nordic course in Duntroon. This event had 90 total competitors, with the event being split into 2 days, with different divisions playing on each day. On day 1, Thomas Hums goes wire to wire for a 7-stroke win in MPO, which included a 1,011 rated second round to seal the deal. And speaking of sealing the deal, he was able to snag an ace on the very last hole of the tournament, really going out in style. In FPO, Alicia Hums takes the auto win as the only player in the field, her 5th dub of the season, and taking the double Hums victory there. The player of the day, though, undoubtedly came from MP40, as my gripped and ripped teammate, Justin Murphy, shot a 1,007 rated -4 in round 1, followed by a 1038 rated neg 5 in round 2, taking the win in MP40 by 19 strokes. If he had played in MPO, because they played from the same tee-pads, he still would have won by 8 strokes. Put in quite the performance there. Day 2 of the event saw MA1, MA2, and MA3 divisions all playing. And in MA1, it was Ryan DeRose who had a 4-stroke lead over Brady Belanger and Chris Thompson, with none other than myself joining them on the lead card, sitting 5 shots off the lead. But in round 2, it was Brady who was able to keep the scorecard clean, shot an even par round, which included a birdie on the final hole that would give him a 1-stroke win. His 5th win of the season in MA1, which I'm just thinking, thank goodness this is his final MA1 season, as he moves up to, I think he's going to go pro and go to MP40, not MA40, but moves up into the age protected division next year, so I can avoid getting my butt whooped by him all the time. Galen, what about you, my man? What are some of your thoughts from the Peacebridge Highland Open?
Oh man, just sad I had to miss out on this one. I love Peacebridge. Pat always puts on a great show, so sad I wasn't there is my first thought. I also want to say congrats to power couple Tom and Alicia, and to Justin for the pro victories, especially with that scorching 1038 and that 19-stroke victory for Justin. That's bonkers. Also wanted to shout out a few other strong performances. Nice to see Eric Conlon 3rd and Pat Gillis 4th in MA1. Jane Anderson Renton smoking FA60, a casual 59 strokes clear of 2nd place. Just Jane doing Jane things. Also awesome to see a friend of the pod, Jacob Kennedy, taking down a well-deserved victory in MA2. Eric Conlon with a double-dipping 2nd in MA2 after his 3rd in MA1. So they're split onto those 2 separate days. And also congrats to Travis Fisher-Quinn for a sweet, sweet win in MA3. Back over to you for our next just several tournaments, because we had to take a break here. We got lots to get through. Tell us about the RIP.
Yes, sir. Let's move on now to, arguably the biggest tournament of the year in Canada, with an absolutely stacked field, including number 1 player in the world, Gannon Buhr, back-to-back world champion, Isaac Robinson, number 7 in DGPT points this season, Ezra Robinson, Alden Harris, Big Germ Jeremy Colling, Luke Taylor, and even more in MPO, while in FPO, the field was highlighted by Raven Klein and Chantel Badinsky, who were both rated almost 40 points higher than anyone else in the field. Paige Pierce was scheduled to compete, but unfortunately had a loss in her family and wasn't able to make it in time. But she was able to come out on the final day to spectate and hang out with fans. In total, this event had 142 total players playing across MPO, FPO, MP40, MA1, and FA1. And in MPO, we witnessed a historically dominating performance by Gannon Buhr, who shot a 1092 rated neg 12 in round 1, a 1075 rated neg 10 in round 2, and capped it off with a 1094 13 under in the final round, en route to a 12-stroke win over world champion Isaac Robinson, with brother Ezra rounding out the podium. Gannon's unofficial tournament average was an absolutely insane 1087, which tied him with Paul Macbeth for the highest tournament average ever at an A tier or higher. Ever in PDGA history. Insane. Gannon was the only player in the field to go bogey-free. The next lowest had 5 OB strokes. And that's, 5 bogey strokes. And that's even with 3 OB strokes in the tournament for Gannon. This was truly one of the most dominating performances we've ever seen in disc golf. It was insane. And speaking of domination, in FPO, we witnessed another absolute domination, but not from either of the 2 highest players in the field that I mentioned earlier. It was friend of the pod, Rebecca Dawn, who went out and had a true breakout event, shooting a +1 962 first round, which was her highest rated round ever, and took a 3-shot lead into round 2, where she then shot a -1 961 rated round, breaking the career high round that she set in the first round, and taking a massive 10-stroke lead into the final round. But she wasn't done there, though, because in the final round, she put her foot down and slammed the door shut on the competition, shooting a -3 985 rated round, once again setting a new career high for a rated round. And she went on to cruise to an insane 16-stroke victory over Alex Paletto in second and Chantel Badinsky rounding out the podium in third. Rebecca had the second most birdies in the field, but had 10 less bogey strokes than second place in that stat, playing extremely clean all weekend and riding that to her second pro win of the season. Over in MP40, disc golf legend Philo Brathwaite went wire to wire for a 7-stroke win over Dylan Reese, with Brock Tierney and Adam Hazel rounding out the podium in a tie for third. In MA1, there was another runaway at the top as Brandon Wagensveld took down a 8-stroke win over Chris Hosmer, with Joey Voskamp rounding out the podium in third. Brandon shot +2 in all 3 of his rounds, averaging 986 rated for the weekend and getting his second MA1 win of the season. And finally, in FA1, Brianna Vandergrint went into the final round trailing by 3 strokes, but was able to shoot the division hot round for the entire event in the final round, and would ride that wave to an eventual 12-stroke win over Katana Taylor in second and Brooklyn Okrafka in third place. This is Brianna's third FA1 win of the season. Galen, what about you, my man? What are some of your thoughts from the Innova Rip out at Hocoat?
Unfortunately, another one I wasn't able to make it out to, despite my best efforts. But I just want to add, how cool it is to see, as Ontario disc golfers, that we got to witness some of the best in the business go to work in our backyard. I mean, the fact that the highest tournament average ever at an A Series Plus was shot in our little corner of the disc golf world is so cool. The fact that we got to see Rebecca take it down over like some legit pros by a wide margin is crazy. Not that, any of our pros aren't legit, but like to play against touring professionals and put on a clinic like that blows my mind. And just also, I was keeping an eye on socials the whole weekend, and so many of my friends got to meet their, pro disc golfing friends they may be seen, spectating or spotting or volunteering in a tournament, or, folks that they see as idols. so cool. But thoughts are just, wow, how lucky we are to have had folks like that in our little neck of the woods. And we're going to do a quick little picks recap. And interestingly enough, we all chose a local choice and a sort of touring professional choice. And we came awful close to our local choices actually performing better than the touring pros. So I'll go from the top. So I had on the FPO side, Paige Pierce and Alicia Hums, and on the MPO side, Luke Taylor and Chris O'Zolins. So obviously, unfortunately, Paige Pierce was not playing. I don't know if we call that a DNF or just oversight by us. Not that it's something we could have predicted. Anyway, no placing for Paige. 4th for Alicia, 5th for Luke Taylor, and 13th for Chris. So that's a 7.333333 till infinity average. Not bad. Not great. Robbie, you had Ezra Robinson and Jake Voskamp in MPO, and Chantel Badinsky and Rebecca Dawn in FPO. So you had Ezra, who finished in 3rd, Jake in 23rd, Chantel in 3rd, and Rebecca in 1st. Because of that spread, though, your average comes out to 7.5, so I still beat you. Sean, though, with the best overall average pick, had Gannon Burr, Cam Zanini, Raven Klein, and Alex Paletto. So Gannon in 1st, Cam with a low-key impressive 10th, Raven in 5th, and Alex Paletto in 2nd, brings him to 4.5 average per choice. So Shawnee G with a rare takedown with how much of a clinic you've been putting on this year, my friend, with your picks. So heck of a tournament, and nice to see some local names towards the top of the leaderboard. To another event that I think took place that same weekend. Again, more about us being blessed with great disc golf. Robbie, what about Canadian Nationals?
Yep, the same weekend as the Innova Rip at Hopegoat, we head out to the west coast of Canada, specifically Clearwater, BC, for the 2024 Canadian National Championships. This event had a absolutely massive field of 410 total players competing across 23 divisions, all hoping to be able to call themselves a national champ. In FPO, we saw a great battle for the title, with Eugene, Oregon's Taylor Chosek holding a 2-stroke lead over friends of the pod Sophia Dunica and Colleen McInnes going into the final round. In that final round, the battle continued, with Taylor maintaining her 2-stroke lead over Sophia into hole 12, where back-to-back bogeys combined with back-to-back birdies from Sophia flipped to the leaderboard and gave Sophia a 2-stroke lead. And she held on to that lead going into the final hole, and even though Colleen and Taylor both birdied, Sophia was able to play for par and take the win, adding to her amazing breakout season with her first Canadian championship. In MPO, Thomas Gilbert was on a mission to reclaim his Canadian title from 2022 after finishing 6th at Nationals last year, and he was looking in peak form through the whole tournament. He held a 3-stroke lead after round 1, 6-stroke lead after round 2, and went on to win by 9 strokes after the final round for his 2nd Canadian Nationals title of his career. Last year's champ Casey Hannemeyer finished in 2nd, with Max Regitnig on the podium in 3rd place. Thomas shot an event average of 10.53, the highest of his career at a multi-round event. He's had a couple higher at some one-round flex start stuff. And he was the only competitor in the field to go completely bogey-free for the entire event, coming out on a mission to reclaim his title. Galen, what about you, my man? What are some of your thoughts from Nationals?
The missed Mando bump is back, baby. Phenomenal performances from Thomas and Sophia. So excited for both of them to win some national championships. Just fantastic. A little heartbroken for my dear friend Colleen McInnes, who fell just 1 stroke short of the win. But knowing Colleen and her great attitude, I'm sure she took it in stride. And looking at her fantastic record playing disc golf in Canada and Ontario, I'm sure she'll be back with a vengeance. So I'm not concerned overall. But as much as I love Sophia, I would have loved to see Colleen perform really well too. And maybe they could have, decided to cut the trophy in half and share it or something. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for Colleen. Fortunately, though, for Sophia and Thomas, taking down 2 wins and 2 people that I think really highly of, both as disc golfers and just humans. So very excited for both of them. But yeah, that's about it for me for that, man. Why don't we shoot over to you for the Chainlink Conservation Series over at my home course in Kelso?
Well, before we do that, just one thing I forgot to add into the show notes for this tournament was I read it afterwards that I believe, and I could be getting the exact number of years, but I believe I saw that it was 10 years since it had been since the last time a Canadian had won the FPO title at Canadian Nationals. It had been a 10-year run, or I guess a 9-year run. 10 years? I don't know. One of the two, 9 or 10-year run of Americans, poor else. I think there might have been a European in there, maybe, winning Canadian Nationals, with, of course, Raven Klein taking it down last year, Ella Hansen taking it down the year before, and so on. I believe I saw that it was Elaine King that was actually the last to win Canadian Nationals in FPO. So congrats to Sophia for breaking the Canadian drought of FPO champions out at Nationals and bringing that title back home where it belongs.
That is high quality company to find yourself in with Elaine King. You know, I might have to invite her to come on the podcast at some point. You know, get her to talk about worlds and championships and Canadians and all that sort of stuff.
I think she'd have some stories.
If she has time for a little pod.
That wink, may or may not be something that is in the works for the future. But who's to say? Spoiler alert! But we will, as Galen alluded to, move on now to the Chainlink Conservation Series at Kelso. This was a amateur-only event, which saw 48 players competing across 9 divisions in the very first tournament held at Kelso Conservation Area, just outside of Milton. In MA1, we had Ryan McFarland holding a 4-stroke lead over Daryl Nantis and Garrett Morgan after round 1, and despite a great second round push from Daryl, Ryan was able to hold on for a 2-stroke win, the very first PDGA win of his career. And shout out to the winners in some other divisions too. We got Mark McKillen in MA40, Patrick Robertson in MA50, Tamara Woodrick in FA50, John Brinkman in MA60, Paul LePage in MA70, Wallace Kent in MA2, Wally, Chris Tiemann in MA3, and last but certainly not least, youngster Alistair Robertson takes down the win in MJ18. Galen, let's throw it over to you, my man. I know this one is special to you as your home course or one of your home courses.
You know it, man. Firstly, just a quick point of order. It is was the first sanctioned tournament at Kelso. We actually had the queer disc golf, almost said queer disc golf productions, the queer disc golf event last year, and we're going to be having that again this year. Chains for Change, the year that was queer, is coming to Kelso on November 2nd. As we stand, we're like 5-6 weeks out. There are 49 of 72 spots taken, so there's still 23 spots left. That's a really affordable $40 entry fee per player. I can just let you in on a little secret. Great players pack, and really fantastic things will come with this day. There's a lot of excitement. I don't want to speak out of turn about what some of it will be, but you are going to have a fantastic time if you join us this year. So queer disc golf last year was awesome on the Blue 9. But I just want to say how cool it was to have this tournament at one of my new home courses right in my backyard. So it was so cool to have that sort of preview of the Blue 9 last year, and to have people get to see, my friends, out of towners get to experience everything Kelso has to offer with the Black 9 being incorporated this year. If you liked what you saw, if you enjoyed the tournament, swing back and see us for League on Wednesday nights. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again because it is so much fun, and if you're not there, you're missing out. We meet at 8 o'clock at the Trailhead. Let's see, what else? Massive shout out to my good friend Paul Fenney, who crushed what I believe is the first ace, certainly the first sanctioned ace on the new Black 9. He hit hole 15, which, if you know, it is 250 some odd feet, but uphill. And it's one of those ones that, it always plays further than you think. I don't care how many times I've played this hole. I always pick up the disc that should get to the basket, and it drops 20 or 30 feet short. And the only time that I'll actually park it is when I'm throwing and I go, oh crap, that's going way too far. And it somehow drops in perfectly. So sweet ace to get. Also, shout out to friends Wally Kent, Paul, and local legend Peter Doe for finishing 1, 2, 3 in MA2. So love to see Wally taking it down, but seeing Paul and Peter round out the podium was also really cool. Chris Tiemann for taking down MA3. I know you shouted out Alistair for winning his division, as you should have. But I also want to shout him out for parring what I think is the hardest hole in Ontario, which is hole 10. I know some people don't love that it's like the hardest hole in Ontario. I think it's a lot of fun. I love a good challenge, but the fact that he's 10 years old and parring a hole that averaged 7.44 is crazy. So shout out to all of them folks, because I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I can't wait to finally make it out to Kelso. Wish I could have made it out to this event, but I had previously signed up for another event, which is the next event that we are going to move on to in our local tournament recaps. And this is last but not least in our Ontario tournament recaps. And we head to beautiful Niagara Falls for the Greater Niagara Fall Classic at Fireman's Park. This event had 2 different tournament days with 74 people competing in MA1 to 3 on Saturday and 66 competitors across 13 divisions, including MPO and FPO on Sunday. In FPO, Chantel Badinsky held a 2-stroke lead over Kat Johnson after round 1, but then absolutely went off in round 2, shooting a scorching -10 1008 rated round en route to winning by 15 strokes. To put Chantel's round in perspective, only 4 players in MPO managed to have a -10 round or better in this event, shooting from the same tee pads. The 1,000 event round rating also makes this her 4th highest rated round of her career and the 4th 1,000 rated round or higher of her career as well. In MPO, the season of Oz continues as friend of the show, Chris Lozalens, shoots a tournament average of 1039 en route to a 4-stroke win, now giving him 9 total wins on the season. Andrew Leland had a great performance to finish in second, averaging 1014 over the 2 rounds, and Greg Grutenborg, GG, rounds out the podium in third. On the Saturday of this event, in MA1, the field showed up with all of its strength as 6 players started out round 1 with 960-plus rated rounds, including a pair of 1,005 rated -11 rounds from Matt Bootsma and Corey Hunter, who had a 1-stroke lead over James Mowens going into round 2. And in the final round, Matt and James matched each other with a 1,003 rated -10, which was enough to give Matt the 1-stroke win with a score that would have been good enough to tie him for second place in MPO, as we were playing the same tee pads as MPO played from. 1,004 was the event average for Matt in this win, which might be one of the only times I've ever seen a tournament average over 1,000 in an amateur division before. I've seen players shoot 1,000 rated rounds, but to shoot 2 of them and average over 1,000 for the tournament in MA1 is pretty crazy. And I got to play with Matt in the first round. He had a stretch of, I believe, 9 straight birdies at one point. It might have even been 10. He was just automatic for an entire section of the course, which was super fun to watch. And we don't need to talk about my round on that day because it was very, very uneventful. I'll tell you this. I was nowhere near 21 under, which won the tournament. That's all we need to know. But Galen, let's throw it over to you, my man. Let's hear some of your thoughts from the Greater Niagara Fall Classic.
I don't know. I never heard of Niagara or anybody who lives or plays there. I just don't care. You know that meme from Walking Dead where he says, "Where's Rick?" And somebody's like, and he's like, "Don't care. Where's Rick?" No, but I say that because I feel like I know everybody that plays in Niagara these days, or at least a lot of the people that are closest to me. Maybe not like by volume. Do I know the most people? But like the people that I know that play Niagara, I care about a lot. So it's really cool to see a tournament going on down at Fireman's. Sucked for me I couldn't make it out. I really would have liked to, if not for other obligations, but I'm really glad to hear it went off without a hitch. I was seeing updates all weekend about how great it was. Congrats Oz and Chantel. Congrats to Leyland for a really strong second. Craig Ireland for MP40. Jeff Robinson for MP50, Taylor Quigley for FA1. And you said it was her first one of the tournaments we recapped earlier. I'm sensing a bit of a trend here. Another FA1 victory for Taylor Quigg, so we love to see it. Bootsma, big shout out for taking on MA1, and James Atkinson, Seabass for their T7. Corwin Andrews for their first, Eric Conlon for third, MA2. A lot of podiums for Eric and MA2. Friggin' awesome. Dan Simpson takes down a podium spot with third in MA3. Dennis Barnes, third MA40. Tobin Isaac, second MA50. And surprise, surprise, Jane Anderson Renton with yet another FA60 victory. And last but certainly not least, shout out Rachel Dubs Dubois for a nice second place finish in FA2. I just, like I'm saying, like some of my my better disc golf friends all have played this tournament or play in the area on a regular basis. So that was like a rapid fire of names. It's because like I know all those people, I care about all those people, and I'm really stoked they played well. So they deserve the shout outs. I think that might bring us to the end of our local tournament recaps, Robbie, unless you have anything else you want to add here.
Yes, I just wanted to add in, you brought up Jane there, and I wanted to also shout out, because I didn't mention it in the breakdown, but Jane also did pick up the FA60 win at Canadian Nationals, shocker, and continues her streak of being completely undefeated this season, with the exception of one doubles event, divisional doubles at AM Masters Worlds, where she finished second. Every other event, including one in FA40, two in FA50, a bunch in FA60, and one in FA65, which was the Amateur Masters Disc Golf World Championship that she won, she has finished no lower than first, going entirely.
That is crazy.
Defeated. That is absolutely
she is somehow
insane.
Still getting better. I don't understand.
She's 16-0.
I'm now also on her PDGA page. I'm assuming that's where you were clicking to take a look at this.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
You know, 2 seconds in 2022. She had, 2 seconds and a fourth in 2023, and undefeated so far in 2024.
She has...
Like a fine wine, she is getting better with age.
And, she's the best. I love running into Jane at tournaments.
I don't know Michael as well, but Jane and also Nathaniel, like the Rentons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not that I have anything bad to say about Michael. I sure as hell don't, but I haven't spent as much time chatting with him. But, just good people, man, and really good at disc golf, and I am never going to stop rooting for any of them ever.
Never. Jane, in 80 career PDGA events, has 62 career wins.
Those are Elaine King numbers, man.
She's only lost 18 times in 80 sanctioned events.
I haven't won 18 times in 80 sanctioned events. I don't know how many events I've played. It's probably less than 80.
I don't even think I've played 80 sanctioned events.
Wow.
I might not even have as many events as she has won, which is
seriously
just absolutely.
I'm blown away, man. She's the best.
She's awesome. Shout out to Jane. But yes, Galen might have alluded to it a little bit at the end there. We are going to move on now to some Pro Tour talk, and let's talk some DGLO. This was the first DGPT Plus event of the season, and of course was held at the Kensington Toboggan Course in Milford, Michigan, at the annual DGLO tournament, one of the best of the year. In FPO, we had Holland Handley avenging her heartbreak from Worlds and picking up her third DGPT win of the season with a 3-stroke win over Haley King and 6 strokes over Kristen Tatar in third. In MPO, Gannonburg completes a sweep of the 4 DGPT Plus events of the season, winning by 2 strokes over Isaac Robinson and Ricky Wysocki, who tied for second. With the $12,500 payday, Gannon also set the new PDGA record for money earned in a single year, passing the $116,000 mark that Kristen Tatar set last year. And Gannon still has 2 DGPT playoff events, 1 major, and the Tour Championship left to play. If he finishes strong the rest of the season, there's a real possibility Gannon could surpass $200,000 in career earnings before this season is done. That is absolutely mind-numbing. And spoiler alert for something we're going to talk about in just a little bit. He finishes the season strong. Yeah, he's still really good. But Galen, let's throw it over to you. Any thoughts that you have from DGLO, and then we can move on to our picks.
Yeah, man. Just how lucky are we to get to watch this kid throw discs? I think one thing that maybe I don't have a ton to add, but one thing that I think bears mentioning is how absolutely bonkers it is that he is doing all this with a new bag of discs for this season. Like, he is a new Discmania team member for 2024, and he is setting single season records for the amount of earnings that he's taken home. We were looking at a stat earlier, you, Sean, and I, about the number of, I believe it was rounds with over 1075 as a rating for the season. And he had more 1075 plus rounds than second, third, and fourth combined. He is just shooting the absolute lights out, which is getting talked about as it should be. But just to be doing that on the first year with a new company and a new set of discs and a new bag is just otherworldly. And the fact that he's still so young doing this too, man, it is so early. But like, is it time to start talking about whether or not, if he keeps this up, if we might be looking at some point at the greatest of all time? Like, at the age that he is at, crazy. The way he is throwing
he's
this,
still not even 20.
He's still not even 20. Like, it is just insane. And for me, you know, I sort of like to try to ascribe my experiences to like other sports, and I'm sort of thinking through disc golf or whatever else. And for me, as a hockey fan, if I sort of think through like what we're looking at this generation, I mean, obviously, I'm thinking about the goal scoring race. So right now, the all-time goal scoring record is Wayne Gretzky. Surprise, surprise. This is about every record that exists in the NHL. But just a hair behind him is Alex Ovechkin, and he's probably due to pass Gretzky this year, if not this year, certainly next year, in goals. And he's close to the end of his career, so he's not going to pass him by much, I don't think, but he's likely to pass him.
Like, he's like 62 behind or something like that.
I thought he was a little bit higher. Anyway, suffice it to say, I think people that pay attention to the NHL would not find it controversial for me to say that Alex Ovechkin is the greatest pure goal scorer of all time. And I don't see a world where he doesn't have the record for a very, very, very long time. The thing I've started to look at recently, because I'm a Leafs fan, is like Austin Matthews is scoring at a better per game goal scoring pace now than Alex Ovechkin was at his age. There's so much in this game that has to do with, by this game I mean disc golf and hockey, has to do with longevity, the ability to repeat those peak performances, not just have them be flare-ups and things happen. Like, you know, in hockey, Mike Bossy was a spectacular goal scorer, arguably one of the best pure goal scorers ever, but he had to end his career early due to injury. Like, there's a non-zero chance that happens to an Austin, that happens to a Gannon, and God forbid, I hope not. But just the fact that it doesn't feel crazy to me to bring the name Gannon Buhr into a conversation about who could one day be the greatest of all time at this sport on the MPO side, that's just crazy at a guy, you know, who's still a teenager.
It's wild. It is
super wild.
So wild.
Okay. Speaking of Gannon, let's go to picks, then we'll move on to GMC. So for picks, speaking of Gannon, Robbie, you had Gannon and you had Ella Hansen over in FPO. So Gannon, obviously, as we've been expounding on, finished first. Ella in 10th, so averaging 5.5. Tidy business, my friend. Sean also had a winner. He picked Holland Handley to win FPO, and she did. An unfortunate finish, though, for Nicholas Antila, who finished tied for 45th, so averaging only 23rd for his picks, Sean was. And I had Chris Dickerson and Kristen Tatar. So that tournament, we had Chris at 16th and Kristen at 3rd, so averaging 9.5. Sort of like I felt like about my picks at the rip. Not awesome, not bad. But this is what I was alluding to, Robbie. Your picks have been lights out this year, man. So another nice victory amongst the three of us there for you and your picks.
Yeah, I feel like I have been dominating our picks so far this year. I had that stretch of like picking both winners for like 3 straight weeks.
Yep. And like I told you, at some point I'm going to go back and I'm going to break down some stats. And I know you and I were talking about even fine-tuning things a little bit more for next year, which I love. But for this year, at some point, as we get towards the end, maybe when we're doing our final major of the season, I'll go back and we'll review all of our picks for the year. And I'm very curious to see where our overall average picks are. Because my sense is that Sean and I are pretty close, but there's a healthy margin between us. Like, if I'm just like guessing right now, like, I feel like maybe you're somewhere at like the like every tournament ever, like the 5 to 7 for your average pick, and maybe Sean and I are more like, you know, like 10 to 12. I don't know what the actual numbers will be, but I feel like you're going to be really good objectively and really good relative to us, and we'll be like, okay, like pretty decent.
I'd be willing to bet that I average for the entirety of the season in our picks, that I average probably 5 or lower than that.
Yeah, I would not be at all surprised. I would not be at all surprised.
I would definitely think so there. But why don't we move on now to the next DGPT event? And this is the first DGPT playoff event. And it's one of my personal favorite tournaments of the entire Disc Golf Pro Tour season, the Green Mountain Championship, held at the absolutely beautiful Smuggler's Notch Resort, which features the number 5 and number 7 ranked courses in the world on one single property. Galen, you went there last year for Worlds. I know you've spoken very highly about this property, and it's just a fantastic tournament every single year. And in FPO, Silva Saarinen looked like she was in control with a 4-stroke lead over Onskogens and 6 strokes over Kristin Tatar with only 5 holes to play. But in that final 5 holes, Silva went +3, Owen went +3, while Kristin went -3 to erase the 6-stroke deficit and force a playoff with Silva, where Kristin would take the win on the first playoff hole for her 6th win of the season. And in MPO, I alluded to it earlier, Gannon Buhr, once again, he shot an absolutely insane -16, 1096 rated second round and rode that momentum to the finish to win by 7 strokes over Ricky Wysocki in second and 9 strokes over Evan Smith in third. This is Gannon's 6th Elite Series win of the year, to go with his 1 major win as well, really pushing himself towards a unanimous Player of the Year season. He's now had back-to-back wins twice this season, joining Paul McBeth, Paige Pierce, and Kristin Tatar as the only players in Disc Golf Pro Tour history to do that. And his 1096 round also gives him 6 rounds of 1075 plus in the month of September, the most in a single month in PDGA history. And like Galen alluded to earlier, he has now 18 rounds rated 1075 or more this year. Second place is Anthony Barella with 7. He has 11 more than second place. And then it's Isaac Robinson and Ricky with 5 and Evan Smith with 4. Shout out to Evan Smith. 4 rounds of 1075 or better this year. Damn. Young gun.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like if you like just break that down, if you take second, third, fourth, and fifth and combine them all, they're only beating Gannon alone in first by 15% by 3 rounds.
Crazy.
Like you just said, 6 rounds in September. So essentially, if he played an extra half month the way he's played so far, he'd be tied with the rest of the top 5.
And we still have another tournament in September.
Yeah, we do.
Like, what the heck? He's like, I'm reacting to some of these Gannon stats lately like I react to Gretzky stats. Like the fact that if Wayne Gretzky scored 0 goals, he would still lead the NHL in points.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
All-time points, just assists. That's the most bonker stat I've ever heard across sports in like my entire life. But Gannon Buhr is doing things that are blowing my absolute mind right now. But Galen, let's hear some of your thoughts, or you can jump right into our picks.
Yeah, man, I don't have much to add. You saw me pulling out the pride and joy of my disc golf collection. I very much believe that discs should be thrown, so it's got to be really special for a disc, even a very expensive one, for me to go on the wall or go on display somewhere. But yeah, I was just holding up the disc that I got signed by the entire FPO podium at last year's Worlds and the 2 Hot Geese, honk, which is the one of the coolest things that I have. We got to talk to Madison and Erica somehow. I know that we're like so far off their radar, but it would be so cool to get one or both of them on the pod. I would, if we're talking like pie in the sky guests, that would be like, out of this world for me. I'd be ecstatic.
Heck.
But yeah, it was a heck of a tournament last year to watch Worlds there. It's interesting because a lot of the Pro Tour courses I haven't played. They're all down in the States. The only one that I have been at in person and played a few holes of are the two courses at Smugs, because of where I got to go last year. There was actually a little bit of buzz that I might get to go with a buddy to USTGC this year. I was hoping, but it fell through. So I'm gonna have to wait to next year to check out another course, and we'll see what opportunities present themselves. But there's just a difference in perspective that you have having played a course or having walked a course to some of the insane things these guys are doing. So, like, I'll just give you an example. Brad Sharpwood has mentioned, I was chatting with him about maybe doing USTGC. He and I were the ones that were at Smugs together last year for Worlds, and we played a couple of holes on, I always get the two courses mixed up. I think Brewster is the one that they played their final round on. Maybe you can confirm. Anyway, the one where they played their final round, FPO did, and their playoff hole, that hole 18, like, I have played that hole with, which one was it?
That's Fox Run.
I always get Fox Run and Brewster mixed up. So, sorry. Fox Run, hole 18. Thank you, Robbie. Brad and I came last year to Worlds with a plastic bag or like a backpack of discs that he had brought and shared. So he had a driver and a putter, and I had a mid. I had a Simon Wazadl Hex. And so I didn't get the full experience, but I ripped that disc from the top of that hill as hard as I could. And just looking at where that disc landed and where my upshots went, like thinking that I played the hole pretty friggin' well with one disc, and then seeing Ricky Wysocki smash something off the tee that got into putting range for eagle. I just, like, it really puts into perspective how, like, where that other level is that these pro players are on. So that's my first thought, is just anytime I see a tournament at Smugs, I'm just blown away. I guess the only other thing I would really add is just how crazy it was seeing Kristen erase that deficit. You and I and Sean were all messaging back and forth on our group chat day of. I was sort of looking at the first 2 days and going, wow, it's nice to see Kristen looking back on form, because she really looked utterly dominant last year and to start the season. But there have been some, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. And she even alluded to that in one of her interviews with Jomez. I think it was prior to her second round, sort of talking about how it hasn't been as consistent as she's used to. But I finally went, you know what? 2 rounds in a row. She's got a 4-stroke win, the 2 hot rounds of the tournament. This is looking good. And then the third, she fell off. And the start of the fourth, she really fell off. And to get to the point where, again, we're messaging back and forth. There are 6 holes to play, and she is, I don't know, was it 5 holes to play and 6 strokes
5 holes
out?
to play, 6 strokes down.
Like, you just go, wow, not only is she, like, I was honestly sort of thinking, like, oh my God, like, she's cooked. Like,
yeah.
It's insane to say. Like, Kristen is the best disc golfer on the planet still. And I'm not just saying that because of the results in recent, in the recent couple of holes that I'm about to get to. But if you look at the FPO field, I think even with some of the recent performances by others, like, you have to look at her as the odds-on favorite going into any event. With the track record she's assembled the last 3 years. But all that notwithstanding, there was a moment there where I went, you know what, it's been a hell of a season. And to watch her be in dominant form and then just piss it all away, I went, you know what, like, this might not be her year. Like, this might not be good for her at all. And then, of course, we see some unfortunate, kicks and rolls for Silva and for Owen, but a lot of that was just clean golf by Kristen. She had one misfire. I want to say it was hole 16 throwing out of the woods where she had a really sawed-off forehand. But other than that, from 5 holes out, she played pretty much perfect disc golf. And so, the fact that she was able to come back and tie it was surprising, but I do think it was well-deserved. And I'll just also add that I felt really bad for Silva. I love seeing her having the season that she's had this year. She is a current and future star of this sport. But she had a really unfortunate chain out. She did hit a little weak side on that putt on hole 18 when Kristen was able to tie her, but that was a lot of chains to not stick. And then
the worst one was on it was like hole 16 or something like that. She had an even closer putt. It was well within C1. That was to save par and would have tied or would have matched Kristen on the hole, because Kristen was just tapping in for par and missed like a pretty gimme putt. And Silva, I mean, she is kind of known as a dominant putter. Like, that's I'd say what her strength is. So definitely just heartbreaking to see her collapse like that down the stretch.
For sure. And I think even, sometimes when you're watching sports or whatever on TV, you become an amateur lip reader. It looked to me like when Kristen hugged her after the win, she said something like, "I'm so sorry." And you love to see that from the competitors. Like, I mean, it honestly, like, this might sound crazy. Maybe I was just having an emotional day, but I almost teared up. I saw that, just her giving Silva the hug, and you could tell Silva, she was holding it together, but, you got to be heartbroken in that moment. And for Kristen to have the class to say, I'm so sorry after winning. And you even saw, like, you've seen Kristen after a dominant victory like that. She has that, like, double arm pump celebration that she does that I just kind of love, where you can tell she's just bursting with glee. She's so happy. The fact that she kept it restrained and just gave Silva the hug, the respectful words, I just thought was so classy. So that'd be probably the way I'd want to end any sort of thoughts I had there of like, wow, what an event. So cool to watch from my coach. And, you love seeing class and compassion from the players that are at the top end of this sport.
Absolutely. Let's move along the picks.
Yeah, let's do it. So for this tournament, Robbie, surprise, again with the best set of picks. Who would have guessed? You had Ricky and Holland. Ricky finishing second in MPO and Holland fourth in FPO, so averaging third overall. Not bad, averaging a podium with your picks. Sean, as he did with the last tournament, had Gannon. As he did in the last tournament, I don't remember if it was Gannon. He had a winner last tournament. He has a winner this tournament, which is Gannon. He also had Evelina Salonen, who was tied for ninth, so average fifth overall. And I had the other winner. I had Kristen, who finished in first, of course, and then Isaac Robinson. I just sort of kept it simple. I went, you know what? I'm going to choose the two players who I saw win at these courses last year. Isaac, I thought, actually had a great tournament, but wound up finishing tied 10th, so average 5.5 myself. And that was it for our picks. So unless you have anything else, maybe we can pivot over to our Pro Tour preview.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to Pro Tour previews. We've only got one tournament to preview, the next DGPT playoff event before we eventually get to US DGC and Throw Pink. But there'll be a weekend off in between that, so we've only got one to cover here. But Galen, let's throw it over to you, my friend, for some previews.
Yeah, man. So I am super excited for this year's MVP Open at what often seems to be everyone's favorite stop on the Pro Tour, Maple Hill. Last year, we saw Matty O take down his first Pro Tour win on the MPO side, and I thought he really cemented himself, or maybe re-cemented himself as one of the top 5, maybe certainly the top 10 open disc golfers on the planet. It just feels like he's been all over a win like this for a long time, but to see him actually take it down in spectacular fashion with a crowd chanting his name, so cool. He won by 4 strokes over Aaron Gossage, Goose, and Eagle McMahon, and he had a 6-stroke lead over Ricky, Simon, and Calvin, who all tied for 4th. Over in FPO, it was Haley King eking out a 1-stroke victory over Kristen Tatar and Owen Scoggins after a roller coaster final round with a lot of lead changes. And even though she had won more money and a major at the time, the King, Haley King of Maple Hill, called that victory the best of her career. So a lot of intrigue last year. And this year, of course, anyone is going to be playing. Haley and Matty O will have a murderer's row. They're going to have their work cut out for them with 73 of the top MPO and 34 of the top FPO players vying for the win, including the cream of the crop, the aforementioned Gannon, Ricky, Calvin, Chris Dickerson, Ezra Robinson, Nicholas Antala, Simon Lazat, Eagle McMahon, and friend of the pod, Luke Taylor, and more in MPO. And Kristen, Owen, Evelina, Holland, Big Money Missy, and friends of the pod, Natalie Ryan and Rebecca Cox in FPO. Can't wait to check this one out. And if you are good, I think we can hop straight into our picks, my friend. And you are up first. You are on the clock.
Whoa. With the first selection in the 2024 MVP Open Draft. No, I will start with my FPO pick, and I'm going to go with Owen Scoggins. She finished, I believe it was 1 stroke back of Haley last year. Has played well here before. She hasn't won out here before, but can never doubt the dog. So I'm going to go with Owen Scoggins. And in MPO, I'm going to go with the number one pick right now, it would be obvious to take Gannon Burr. But I'm not banking on him going 3 straight wins on the Pro Tour. That would just be absolutely nutty. So I'm going to go with somebody that has a win out here before and has been playing great lately as well, but unfortunately has been taking some seconds. I'm taking Ricky Wysocki.
So, you know that you can't spell Holland without Own, but you do know that Own Scoggins and Holland Hanley are 2 different people, right? Because you're not picking your girl.
Give me the dog.
Hey, picking Own Doggins is never a bad idea, but I am surprised. I'm surprised, my friend. You always go back to the well. As has often been the case, either because you guys are boring or bad at strategy, I've been left the 2 top players on the board, so I'm going to pick them. I will take Gannon Burr and MPO. I think he is going to continue his insane streak of success and take this one down. And I'll take Kristen. She obviously, as we were saying before, has had a roller coaster season, but at her best, she is the best. And last year, she was just 1 stroke off the lead. So I like her to build on that performance. We got to shout out co-host Sean, who is not with us today because, as we mentioned, he is on his way down. He is going to be spotting on hole 14, and Gabby is actually going to be, Sean's wife, Gabby, doing live scoring for a few rounds and spotting on hole 9. So keep an eye out for them in the background of live coverage when you're watching. If you see a big, doofy-looking guy with a Miss Mando hat, that'll be Sean.
Hey, Robbie. Hey, Galen. How's it going? Sorry that you're not here with me right now at Maple Hill. Hole 8. Epic. Just doing a walkthrough of the course with Conor O'Reilly during his practice round. He is currently over there walking across the causeway. And well done today on this show. It's extremely mediocre, so up to your standards and up to Miss Mando standards. See you guys on the next episode. And watch for me on coverage. If we get an ace on hole 14 where I'm spotting, I'm going to do a giveaway. It's going to be cool. See ya.
Yeah, and this memo just kind of like appeared out of nowhere into our notes here, like the voice of God just coming in to our live notes.
I've heard Sean talk before. That is not the voice of God.
That's true. That is true. And if I just hover over the little cursor that's adding these, I can clearly see that it's Sean. These on the back.
You and I had just been chatting this whole time, and all of a sudden,
of recording the show,
somebody decides to hop in.
Things in at the last minute.
But you know what? It's okay because we're about to go to Sean for his crappy picks for the weekend. So we may as well talk about it a little bit before we do. Sean's picks via us. Sean's got Nicholas Antala in MPO, and he's got Evelina Salonen in FPO. So I think it'll be interesting. I think we've got a pretty good cross-section of disc golfers in those 6 picks and a pretty good cross-section of performances too. I mean, Gannon's obviously had the best season, but Ricky's been on his tails at times. Nicholas has looked like the best player in MPO for a while. We got a world champ. We have one of the greatest FPO players of all time, and we have a 2-time recent world champ all over in FPO. So I'm digging it. I like my chances this time because you can't win it every week, Robbie. Despite the fact that you usually do. No, I don't. Actually, I'll bet you when you come out to Kelso, not this week, so before we actually see the results, but next time you come to Kelso, I'll bet you a beer of one of our choosings that my picks take it down on your picks.
Done.
Oh, man. Well, on that note, unless you got anything you want to add, I'm going to suggest we wrap this up, my man. It's isn't it crazy how much shorter these episodes are without Sean?
I know, right? Look at this. Is so much more efficient without Shawnee G slowing us down. And yeah, that's going to do it for us here on Missed Mando. This was a jam-packed episode. I think this was the most words that I have written for a single document in my entire life, recapping all of these tournaments. But man, it's disc golf is cooking in Ontario right now and on the Pro Tour. Looking forward to watching MVP coming up. That's always a fun tournament. I mentioned that I think it was number 5 and number 7 for the 2 courses at Smuggler's Notch. Well, Maple Hill is rated number 4 in the world. So we go from 2 courses in the top 10 rated very highly to a course rated even more highly with Maple Hill, the highest rated course in the U.S. because the top 3 are all European courses. So it is going to be a treat, but that's going to wrap it up for us here on Missed Mando. For Galen Naidu-Harris, I am Robbie Holden, and we will see you on the course. Break.
Perfect. Okay, yeah.
Edit
You want to
break.
just take a quick...
Sean, break.
Oh, do we have to wave
Break.
our hands?
Hi, Sean. Hi. I know you're watching this right now. Hello in the future.
Hello from the outside.